The main event can make or break a show. It doesn't matter how good the undercard is, if the main event is a stinker, the entire event can be tainted.
Here on Main Event Maniacs, we will revisit some of the most memorable main events in sports entertainment history, both good and bad across various promotions and eras of professional wrestling. I'm Jay,
And I'm Brian.
and today we are covering the Royal Rumble from 1994, a match famous for screwing up all the plans of WrestleMania 10. Not because of the finish, but because of the reaction to one of the people in the finish. So yeah, Rumble matches in terms of recaps, I mean, not a lot we can talk about. What are we going to do? Read off a list of who eliminated who, but it's how they finish them and the implications of the finish that matter. And it's Rumble season. We figure it's time to do one of these. And when they royally screw up the finish, or at least seem
Everything's
to,
a work, Jay.
yeah,
Everything's a work.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, that's the fun part, right? So, Brian, let's get into this one. And I'll just say right now, this is one of the few WWE pay-per-views of the time that I actually saw when it went down. And I did specifically because of one of the people that was in the finish of this, because I really liked Lex Luger. And when I felt like he got called up from WCW, NWA to the WWF. He was going to the NFL, man. It's like college player going to the NFL. I'm like, yes, finally, he's going to get featured because I felt like he was getting buried in Atlanta. Little did I know. But
Yeah.
what was in store? And, WWF was at a big transition at this point, right? And oh my goodness, it's all over this pay-per-view.
Who would have thought getting called up to the WWF would have been a demotion?
Yeah. I think a lot of ego gets involved in that.
Who would have thought? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so bad a demotion that when he finally left WWF, he took a lowest contract possible to go back to WCW. I
I
mean,
would I would
that's
rather
bad.
be in a neighborhood I like and where people like
Yes.
me than to work at a place that everyone hates me and I hate everyone here.
So sadly true, my friend. So sadly true.
I mean, I think we've all been there at one point in our lives, right? So maybe not, in the physical way, but sheesh. But now, just in general, though, man, like Rumbles and stuff. Before we get into this one specifically, like I've always liked the Royal Rumble. I felt like it was a great way to kick off a year. It's a cool concept, and you're putting stipulation on it. You get the title shot at Mania or whatever. I've always liked the Rumble. I mean, heck, they even did a title on the Rumble before. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Royal Rumble as well. But it's one of those matches where when you watch it the first time, it's super exciting. But when you watch it again, it's like there's very few Royal Rumbles that are rewatchable that are enjoyable, in my opinion.
it's like a
Most of them are
Transformers
kind of
movie.
boring.
The first time is cool. The rewatch, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously '92 is always fun to go revisit because Flair
Oh
wins
yeah.
the title, right? And there's a handful of others that are fun to go revisit. But in the general sense of it, Royal Rumbles are awesome at the time, not as much when you rewatch.
Yeah, yeah. And like I say, it's the where they lead to and how they play the storyline out. And again, this was a big deal. We were coming up on the 10th WrestleMania, right? It was going to be this huge build up to this. And then we'll talk
Nah.
about how they nosedive it here as we get into this. But yeah, but I like the concept of the Rumble, and I've enjoyed it in the more modern era with the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble. I've thought that particularly the women a couple of times have really outshone the dudes. Like they put on some shows, man.
Absolutely. I think the Women's Royal Rumble has been a huge success for the WWE. It's fantastic, in my opinion, and it's about time. I mean, they have such a large women's roster now. To not have a Women's Royal Rumble for so many years just seemed wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not having the women's Money in the Bank. Like you can't imagine that now. That's always a killer match too, because the girls really go out for it. And so I like it, and it's one that I definitely will tune into. When it's coming around. I like Rumble matches.
Yeah, me too. Let's get into this one, Jay. Let's talk about the build-up to this Royal Rumble
Oh, please
match. Because
do.
let's say the build-up and the aftermath are the entertaining parts, right?
Oh, big time.
All right, let's get into it. After a disastrous WrestleMania 9 main event where Bret Hart lost the WWF Championship to Yokozuna, who then immediately lost it to Hulk Hogan, the WWF storylines were thrown into a bit of chaos because Hulk Hogan refused to drop the belt to Bret Hart as planned and instead dropped back to Yoko and left for Hollywood.
That'll work for me, brother.
That's right. During this time, Bret was pushed aside from the world title picture, and Yoko was put into a feud with the narcissist turned American hero Lex Luger. Luger embarked on a tour across the country to gin up support for his new Hulk Hogan of the WWF character. The tour culminated with Yoko being slammed by Lex on the USS Intrepid, and his match was set for SummerSlam. They used a freaking Navy ship to push Lex Luger as this American hero.
Look, Lex Luger was a lot of things, and not talking about what he is now as a person. I'm so happy for him and the life he leads now, and all that stuff. I'm talking about who he was at this time. He was a monster heel. Why would you ever when they tried to push him as a face in WCW, it sucked too. He's a great heel. Let him be a friggin' heel. But the narcissist angle is so bad. Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, it was terrible. Well, let's go on. His match is set for SummerSlam. Support had been tepid for Luger this whole time, and McMahon decided at that point not to put the belt on him at SummerSlam. But he backed himself in a corner with the stipulation that if Luger lost, he wasn't allowed to have another championship match while Yokozuna was the champion. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Luger would continue his feud with Yoko at Survivor Series as the two captained teams against each other, and Luger's path to the Royal Rumble, like I said, was complicated as he wasn't allowed to challenge Yoko again. So as a compromise, and this is great, Lex Luger was allowed to go in the match as long as Fuji, Yoko's manager, was allowed to bring in two thugs, Tenryu and the Great Kabuki, to attempt to thwart Luger's chances.
What?
Yeah, like... You couldn't come up with someone better, like
we're going to talk about Yoko and the posse that he brings to this event later. But please go on.
Yes, now let's talk about Bret Hart. Bret Hart was thrust into a feud after losing his title with Jerry Lawler, which actually ended up being the feud of the year, according to the Wrestling Observer.
Why? That tells you what the year was like, man. Woo.
Well, and it does because Bret hated that feud. Either way,
for good reason.
Definitely. Also involved in this feud with Jerry Lawler was his brother Owen. Now this would lead to great stuff, but Hart was finally given a rematch for the WWF title on a November episode of WWF Superstars, which, if you don't know, was a syndicated show at the time, kind of like Sunday Night Heat or something like that, or today's Main Event or things like that.
I used to watch it a lot. I liked it.
Oh, absolutely. It was all you had for a long time. Now they had Raw by this time, but Superstars was still on, and that's where he got his rematch. Kind of an odd place to give him his rematch, but whatever. Well, with Hart getting his rematch, he appeared to have this match won, but Owen came out and distracted the referee, which allowed Fuji to assault Bret and lead to Yoko's ultimate victory. Now fast forward to Survivor Series 1993, and the Harts were set to take on Jerry Lawler and his Knights, but Jerry Lawler was in a little bit of legal troubles with underage girls being involved. Let's just say that will haunt him multiple times throughout his career.
Sadly.
And instead, Shawn Michaels took his place as the leader of the team, which made zero sense, by the way. He had no ties to this feud, no ties to these Knights.
If you had any question about Shawn Michaels being a company guy, no, never doubt it. Smile, lost or not, he'll do it. So.
Yes, well, not true, but that's okay. At this point, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Shawn Michaels took the place, and in the match, Owen Hart was the only one of the Hart brothers to get eliminated, and that sent him into a fit of anger. At the Royal Rumble, Owen and Bret would team together to try and win the WWF Tag Team Championships against the Quebecers, but the match was stopped by the referee due to Bret Hart apparently suffering a knee injury. Owen went on to berate Bret Hart for costing him the titles and attacked Bret's knee, kickstarting one of the greatest feuds in WWF history, in my opinion.
I agree with that, yeah.
Despite the odds, Bret managed to enter the Royal Rumble at number 27. And in the match, the final four were, get this, Bret, Luger, Shawn Michaels, and Fatu, who would go on to become Rikishi, but at this time was just a member of the Head Shrinkers.
Wow.
Fatu. I don't get how he was even in this final four.
Again, good company guy.
Yeah. Unbelievable, if you ask me. Yeah. Michaels and Fatu were eliminated in short order, and then Bret and Lex eliminated each other simultaneously and eventually were declared co-winners of the match. The first and only time they were co-winners of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, we're going to get into how it all plays out a little bit, but to back up and set the scene, we're in the smallest state in the Union, Rhode Island, Brian. Welcome to the Providence Center. Attendance announced about 14.5, which packed it out. Buy rate of 200,000, so pretty good. January, as we say. We got Vince McMahon and Ted DiBiase on commentary for most of it. Then they step aside for a bit, and Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon, who are on Radio WWF, take over for a couple matches. Then we go back to Vince and Ted on the Rumble. And I don't know whose idea it was to have Ted DiBiase ever have a microphone in front of his face, but he sucks. And he's terrible at this. He's awful.
Sadly, WCW would do it as well.
No charisma at all, man. He's just boring as toast. I'm sorry. But he wasn't much of a wrestler either, in my opinion. But at least not when I got to see him.
Shot.
Yeah, he's not good. But you're at the tail end of Vince, and you can feel it. He doesn't really want to do this anymore, but Gorilla can't really carry it anymore, and for whatever reason, they don't trust Jim Ross yet. So they're getting to that point. But as with most of these things, though, we get some prelim action, which wildly enough features a lot of guys who are also going to be in the Rumble, which for the very short time, and I mentioned it before when I worked for the Independent Wrestling Association, they did a Rumble, and two guys that were supposed to be involved in the finals put on such a hell of a match beforehand, they actually hurt each other, like shoot, and had to eliminate each other very quickly so they could go to the hospital. Which at least they were both okay, but we both found a good laugh out of that they had to rewrite the whole thing just to get to the end. Neither one of them were supposed to win it, but they were supposed to be involved in it, and they were like, no, we got to go out like first. So they all got thrown out quick. But anyway, we open up with a real killer here. Tanaka
Crowd
and
killer.
Bam Bam Bigelow. Talk about questionable booking, because they let Tanaka beat him. Like, that sucks for Bam Bam.
Yeah, especially considering where Bam Bam's going in the next year.
Yeah.
To lose to Tatanka. I mean, I'll admit, this is right at the beginning of Tatanka in the WWF, and he was really over. Like, even I was like a big fan of him at the time, but yeah, poor Bam Bam. And then again, Bam Bam never really ever got used to his full potential in any wrestling organization other than ECW.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Anyway, you got Tatanka beating him. The Quebecers, as we already talked about, defended their tag titles against Brett and Owen in what was a good match, and then again set up a great feud, which I think those guys, the Hart boys, wanted to do and needed to be done. It made sense. Razor Ramon held onto that Intercontinental belt, taking out Erwin R. Shyster, who is a personal favorite of mine. I like Mike Rotunda. I always liked him, and I like Razor too. Scott Hall's a lot of fun, and then we get the title match, a casket match between Yokozuna and about a dozen other dudes via run-in, and two different managers, Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji, against The Undertaker and Paul Bearer and some of his friends too. It is like a mini Royal Rumble all of a sudden, because Yoko and his cronies, specifically Fuji, steal the urn, and it like produces smoke, and then they end up locking Taker in the casket, but smoke pours out of it. And Taker appears on a video screen, and if you're at home, you saw the pre-recorded casket explosion. Apparently, you were in the audience. You didn't get that, obviously. And then everyone saw Taker like rise to the heavens of the rafters or some nonsense. What the hell is going on in this, man? It's nuts.
Well, in reality, Taker and his wife were expecting a child, and he was taking time off.
Yeah.
And this was a way to get him off TV. A horrible, stupid, awful way
to get him off TV.
But a way to get him off TV and set up what will be SummerSlam 1994, which one day we are going to talk about.
Just put a pin in that. That's happening. So, yeah, we're going to get to that. But you know what? As title matches go and as throwaway title matches go, and that's exactly what this is, I get what they're doing here, because they're having to protect Yoko, because there's only so much the man can do. He's massive and he's really old at this point. So we're bringing out Crush, we're bringing out Bam Bam, we're bringing out the Great Kabuki. We also get Adam Bomb and Jeff Jarrett and the Head Shrinkers and Diesel. Everybody's coming out, who's also just going to turn right back around and come out for the Rumble and do that too. So it's a wild time in the WWF here. Booking is scattershots, shall we say the least.
Just a little. Now, you got to also remember here, Vince McMahon is in his feud with the federal government over
Yes.
steroids around this time, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Jerry Jarrett is basically starting to take over booking and roles that Vince usually would do because of that. So weird time in the WWF. Let's go with that.
Yeah, there's also a lot of Jim Cornette's fingers on these things
definitely.
too. He's involved. And look, Jim does good stuff from time to time, but he also hangs on to stuff that is from a different time that the audience had moved on from at that point, and it just wasn't. We weren't selling the cartoon anymore. They hadn't figured that out quite yet in '94, but they're trying to, and it shows. We get a Rumble match, and I don't want to go through all of them, but I want to talk about Scott Steiner coming out here against Samu. And this is Scott Steiner just right before the big Pompa Pump era, but he's gotten bigger, but he's still got all that friggin' hair, and he's still wearing like the crazy Zubaz shit. But he gets all of his stuff in, man. He looks great in the ring, and we even get a great Frankensteiner, and I enjoyed seeing that version of Scott because it was when I was introduced to the Steiners in NWA WCW. That's what he looked like. He was smaller, but he would do all that stuff. But you could tell he had started to hit the rack, as they say, a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Steiner is always phenomenal in the ring. Like even when his roided days came around, he still had great ring presence and ability to really wrestle well. So you can't give him that. But yeah, that hair was awful, man. That was just terrible. And then to have Rick Steiner be the third entrant, so you got the tag team versus Samu. Yeah, it was weird and kind of dumb.
That, and that we bring Diesel out, and it's wild to see. Talk about hair, to see Kevin Nash with like a pompadour, basically, and then that long hair. He looks like the roadie from like a Judas Priest tour or something.
Yeah,
he's so friggin' huge.
He looked real odd here. This is coming off his Oz days.
Yes.
From WCW. He just came over to WWF here. Quang. Remember Quang?
I did not remember Quang. I was going to ask you, who the hell is Quang?
Savio Vega.
I didn't remember that at all.
That was Savio Vega. Yeah, just crazy. But Diesel goes on a rampage and eliminates everybody.
Yeah, he knocks everybody out, man. Yeah,
Bob Backlund comes out. He gets knocked out. I mean, Diesel just goes on a rampage and destroys everyone. It's great. Finally, we get some offense with Randy Savage coming out, and Randy is looking pretty terrible here.
Yeah,
he revived himself in WCW when he left, but he's on the last legs of his WWF days, and it's just bad. And of course, he's in his feud with Crush. It was pretty bad.
What's your favorite Crush memory?
There's Demolition, Crush, and I hated him then.
Yeah, I hated him. We got Doink
my
the
favorite
Clown.
Crush memory actually is Chronic.
Okay.
He was really good in Chronic.
We got Doink the Clown. One thing we should mention too, this is the era when the countdown clock is sponsored, of course, by Casio. It always has been. But they've got the countdown going, but nobody comes in with entrance music. They just come to the ring.
Yep,
and I was like, oh, yeah, this is before we did all that. So
they just come out the back cloth.
It's not long till they start doing that, because I remember distinctly Steve Austin's reaction when the Bret Hart music hits. And he looks up, Steve's just pouring sweat, as he did often. And he said, look on his face is amazing. But it's before they do that. So, like I said, we get Doink. We get, Bam Bam's in there. Then, Lex comes in and he starts raising hell and doing stuff. And, Mabel, Shawn Michaels is in there for and he lasts a good while. I mean, he hangs around for a minute, but
it's fun to listen to Vince on commentary here because he's so like, this is before they let people be in there for, a long time, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, Shawn Michaels has been in there for an amazing 20 minutes. And you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, now make Cody Rhodes go wire to wire 2 years in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and Shawn ends up being the Iron Man in this. He goes almost 30 minutes in this match. The only person who comes close, well, I guess, the Iron Man ends up being Bam Bam Bigelow.
He goes a little bit longer,
30 minutes.
Crush lasts a good while. So
yeah, Crush lasted 25. That's crazy to me.
I know, it's nuts. This is a 55-minute match. I mean, most Rumble matches are about an hour. That's what you're going to get out of them, right? And so that's fine. But it's going to come down with that Final Four. We got to talk about that Final Four again, man, because the hell is that combo of people in there for? Okay, Lex and Brett totally makes sense, right? Like we
Yep.
do that, and Sean in there too. That makes some sense,
Yeah,
particularly
he's
for
he's
yeah,
Intercontinental Championship scene at this
yeah.
time, so
He's
like
on
he
that.
makes
He's
sense.
dropped it, but he's still in the mix. He's right in between that. But Fatu. No offense to Fatu. I liked Fatu. I thought he was fun, but he didn't need to be the fourth one. Like, come on. Like, we could let Bam Bam hang around for that, or somebody else. I don't know, Crush if we're gonna push him. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was an odd choice in my opinion. Considering we know what becomes. He becomes Rikishi later,
sure.
but he's just a tag team wrestler who's like a savage.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If he is the Savage, let's play storyline for a minute. If he's the Savage, he should be throwing a fit, going at all these guys, and they should be like trying to team up to take him out.
Yeah.
But they don't really book it out that way. It doesn't go entirely that way.
Okay, can we talk about the final three entrants in this Royal Rumble? Because
Yeah.
this shows you exactly how bad the WWF was at this time. Because
Yeah.
you look at the final three entrants in the Rumbles now, they're always huge names, right?
Mm-hmm.
A surprise, maybe huge names. Fatu, Marty freaking Jannetty, and
Wow.
Adam Bomb are the final three. That is not even exciting. Like,
No.
as a spectator watching this, I'm like, don't give a crap.
I had forgotten that the last three were like after Brett came out at 27, that there were three other people to come out, and then when they came out, I was like, oh, that's when they came in. But Marty
Yeah.
Jannetty and Adam Bomb, I'm like, we couldn't shove those guys somewhere in the middle,
Well, you know that Vince was trying to push the whole Jannetty Michaels crap again. And
Sure.
I don't know about Adam Bomb. I don't
Yeah,
know what
that
his
one
story
makes no
was.
sense. Like in my head, like Bret Hart comes out at 30. That makes a lot more storyline sense for where they're going to
Yeah.
go with this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially if he's playing up an injury, because now he's got to come out and he's supposed to be in there for what 15 minutes. How's he supposed to do that? Like he's supposed to be
Yeah.
hurt. Like you just totally
Somehow
whack
he
your
does.
Whole,
Yeah.
You totally whack your whole previous storyline. Again, it shows you how distracted the head man was at the time
Yeah.
to have to take his hands off the switch and let this get done, and now he's got to like put it over. And you can hear Vince trying hard, and Ted is too. Ted sucks, but he's still like they're trying hard to put this over, and it's just flat. It's so flat. I wish I could hear the Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon radio call of it, because it would have to be enormously better than whatever Vince and Ted are doing. I mean, sheesh.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Vince never, to me, was a great commentator, and the fact that he lasted until '97 just blows my mind.
Because he owns the company, man.
I understand why he's there, but
And look,
How he
there was
couldn't
a
find
time
better
and
people.
place for him. Like in the cartoon 80s, he kind of fit it. Like, but
yeah, and that's when he gave it over to good people.
yeah, and
then
he should
came
have.
back.
Yeah, then he
Well,
came back and
did.
screwed it
He-
up.
He
Yeah.
let Jesse and Gorilla take over Jesse or
Well,
Gorilla and Bobby and all
as
that. but
as we've talked about, Jesse and Gorilla are just pinnacle, and then
absolutely, and then closely behind Jesse and Bobby or
Yeah.
Gorilla and Bobby.
Bobby. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm with you. So let's talk about how it does actually wind up, though, the end of it, and what the deal is with the double elimination and all of that. So what's the
Yes.
story on this?
So the story is that Lex Luger just wasn't getting over with the fans. The fans were bored of him. They didn't care for him. He wasn't what Vince wanted, which was a new Hulk Hogan, right? He got the physique, he's got the look, he doesn't have the talent. As far as I'm concerned, at this point, he doesn't have the talent in the WWF to get himself over. And no matter how hard he tried to shove him down the throat, they just couldn't. So Lex Luger was supposed to win this and go on to face Yokozuna at WrestleMania. But because of the tepid response that he was getting from the crowd and the cheers that Brett was getting from the crowd, he was the most over guy in the company at the time. And he was getting just the loudest pop of the night from audiences everywhere. Vince then decided, instead of making Brett just the winner, because he had plans for Brett and Owen already, he would make it a co-winner, giving Lex Luger his match like he had promised, and then also then giving the fans what they wanted, which was Bret Hart winning. And that's kind of where it was. So this the plan was originally Lex Luger, and the fans basically said screw that and forced Vince's hand, and now we have a dual co-winner of the Royal Rumble.
So let this be said, folks, even 30 years ago, if you don't like something and you shit on it enough, they will listen to you, and they will change booking.
Yes,
Around.
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, well, look, it's the right move, and I can't. I told you from the beginning, I was the Lex Mark, for this, but even I could tell he wasn't working. Part of it was the gimmicks they gave him, and part of it was they let him talk. And I feel like Stallone talking about Dolph Lundgren, like you let him talk, like you don't let that guy talk. You give him somebody to talk for him, and then he does things, But they just never booked him right, and again, he took a pay cut and went back where he was a lot happier and used a lot better. In my opinion, he was always so much better at WCW.
Well, and he proved himself too. Like Eric Bischoff will tell you, like he came in and with a promise, like I'm going to pay you only this, but if you do well for me, I will pay you more. And he earned himself back into the top spots.
Yeah.
For that company, which
Absolutely.
that you could tell he was much happier going back.
Well, even you can even see like it's just not the same effort, and this is the era where you're starting to see like guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are going to take over this company.
Yeah.
Going forward. But Vince and group weren't quite ready to accept that yet, that these, quote, normal-looking guys, when I say that, I'm using quotes because they're still athletes, but they don't look like these freak cartoons, and stuff like that. Those guys are ready to take over this thing. Now, you can always have Taker, who had been over since he premiered, so you can always use him, whenever he's ready to do stuff, and he can be your big monster. And you've got other big guys for him to go against, like Diesel and Razor to some extent, because he's a big tall guy.
Yep.
But these guys, these technical wrestlers, the Ric Flair types, honestly, are ready to take over the WWF. The WWF just wasn't ready for it. And they wisely would pivot to it because, again, Bret Hart carried this company for years and years and years after this, but until it was just no longer doable. But another day on Donahue, as they say. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So what was the aftermath, man? I mean, we know where it led with the guys, but we got a great Owen Hart Bret Hart feud out of this. Ultimately, when it was done. And we got, we did get Yoko and Lex, as we talked about. We'll have to get to that one day. But
Yoko and Lex, WrestleMania 10 was a mixed bag of things, right? It's not the greatest WrestleMania ever, but it has some really good stuff. You talk about the ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon.
That's an incredible match.
One of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. Owen and Bret had a killer match with each other to open the show, in which Owen Hart actually won the match.
Yeah.
And then Luger gets disqualified in his title match against Yokozuna, which sets up Bret Hart and Yokozuna for the championship as the main event. Bret finally gets his title back in that match, which was good for him after waiting a whole year to finally get it back. They finally put it back on him, and he goes on then to feud with his brother Owen in, like we said, one of the greatest feuds in WWF history. Luger gets relegated to Wrestling Crush and Tatanka and just garbage like that, which probably is what led to him saying, "Hey Eric, my contract's up. Want me to come over?"
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Later that year in '95. So
and when he showed up on that Nitro, I never
it was a
forget
big
that.
deal.
It was a major deal. But yeah, no, I just, looking back on this again, I didn't watch a lot of pay-per-views at this time. I usually had to catch them after the fact and all that, but I happened to get this one because I was with some friends and they all had it, so we were kind of watching it together. I was still in high school, and I remember going like, I feel like Ralphie in Christmas Story when he decodes the message is like, what a crummy commercial. It's like, it just, oh man, it's like, oh man, it just petered out so bad. Like, ultimately it goes good places, so I think maybe I'm a little nostalgic for it because I know it leads to better things. But as itself, and as we talked about in the intro, rewatching Rumble matches is not really that fun anyway. But oh man, this is one of the just real. And I think what kills me about it is the compromise of the finish bothers me in the fact that, like, just admit what you want to do, which is you don't want to push Luger anymore. You want to put Hart back in this thing. Just let him win the dang thing instead of all this convoluted junk. But oh well.
Yeah, and then the aftermath of the match that took, what did it take him like 5 minutes to declare the winner, and they kept going back and forth. And Jack Tunney comes down.
Yeah, yeah. When Jack Tunney walked out, I was like, "What in the hell are we doing, y'all? Like, what is this?" So,
Yeah.
this is not what we need. So, not the cleanest of pay-per-views.
What made me laugh the most is that the first referee, he's there watching the finish. Hebner wasn't anywhere near the finish, and he's the one declaring Bret Hart the winner. Like,
I know.
Wait, what?
I'm like, man, come on. But that was the times, man. That was how they rolled back in those days, right? So it's funny to think about now, and again to watch it, and anytime you think like, oh God, what are they booking? Like, believe me, it could always be worse. It could always be a lot worse, guys. So yeah, but you know what? It's interesting to think about this one and what it led to, because again, I think it led to better places and better things, and it's fun to revisit in knowing that you're at the precipice of when WWF is changing, right? So if you wanted to see where the genesis of that really started, and the genesis of, again, one of the best feuds of the 90s and maybe of all time started, you can go back to this one. But I don't know, man, maybe just peep some highlights. I don't know if it's worth watching the whole thing again.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend watching the whole Royal Rumble. Just go all the way to the last, 10 minutes and watch that if you really want to do it. But
I would say watch that Razor IRS match. It's pretty good if you can find it, and then watch the end of the title match with the schmoz and the smoke and all that crap, because it's just goofy. It's so wild, but it's because it's funny. And then, like you say, get to where Brett and Lex are the last two people standing, and you won't have to wait long. It'll end quick. Yeah. I think they took longer to decide who won than those two actually went at each other.
Oh, for sure. But they eliminated Fatu and Michaels almost immediately, and then it took maybe 2 minutes of action against each other before they went to the finish.
Yeah, it was like a bear hug, a couple of hits, and then a rope move, and that was it.
Yeah,
we're both going over. So
no thanks.
Nope. But you know what? It was a lot of fun revisiting it with you. It's glad to be back here on Main Event Maniacs as part of the Juice Box. So you will find this show on this very feed from time to time. Feel free to connect with G Springsteen on Twitter X at GCSteen, on Instagram at GC Wrestling Closet, and of course subscribe to that YouTube channel at GCSteen, and everywhere you find your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music. If you have time, swing by, leave a rating and review. Helps a lot of people find the show, and we appreciate the support.
And if you want to follow me on X, I'm Brian Thomas 878, and you can send your thoughts on this episode, suggestions for future episodes, anything like that, comments. We'll take all of it. Happy to take any kind of suggestions on main events that you think we should cover in the future.
Indeed, and we'll be back again soon with another episode. For Brian, I'm Jay. This has been your Main Event.